And recording on Zoom on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 at 1:06 p.m. Eastern Time with Mr. James Koutoulas. And we're going to talk about NASCAR and media libel and all that, but also just to kind of get into it, the other, kind of little side note is Biden dead? So what are your thoughts on that? I'm going to get the live link. I'll text it to you. Do you have any educated guess on this? I think it's weird that there's no benefit to him not appearing. And it's not like the 2020 election where it was beneficial for him to just not be around and he just hid in the basement while Trump kind of shot himself in the foot. There's no like benefit to him. You would think he would come out and do some rounding endorsement of Kamala, but he's not. What do you think's going on?
I mean, listen, it could be a coup, right? We have no idea, right? Like that letter doesn't look real, signature doesn't look real. It's not on official stationery. Um, we have no idea if he sent it. We know he doesn't send his own tweets, right? You have the intern or the staff or whoever live tweeting during the debate. I mean, the guy could barely talk, let alone talk, do a national debate, and tweet at the same time, right? So there's no assurances whatsoever that he signed that, like screenshot of a letter and tweeted it out. I mean, I bet you he doesn't even know how to use Twitter, right? So like, are we really taking like, you know, official presidential correspondence, some screenshot of a known shared Twitter account with no other corroboration?
That's also a fair point. I mean, if somebody just got on my Twitter one day and was like, I'm shutting down the podcast, guys. It's been fun, but I'm gonna go do something else now. Bye. You might be like, where's Tommy?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe that if that's you, right? And we
Yeah.
would at least hope that Biden's Twitter account has a little bit more, security than yours. But look, I mean, he could be in jail, he could be dead, he could be super sick. I mean, we have no idea, but you would think as Americans, like we should know. We should know who's making these decisions. We should know if there's a coup. I mean, let's not forget this happened a week after Trump was nearly assassinated, and such severe gross negligence that you'd have to be kind of dumb to not at least suspect that the Secret Service was in on it,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
right? So, it's scary times for the country, right? I mean, like, who is calling the shit? Who's running the country? I mean, it's not Biden, right?
No.
Biden's still supposedly president. Like, we haven't seen him. We haven't heard from him. He's dropped out of an election via tweet. Who's ordering assassinations? Who's putting these tweets out? I mean, I think these are good questions to be asking.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I just before this had on a guy, Clay Martin, former Green Beret, and he was like, they've clearly decided that whatever for whatever method that they stole the election in 2020, they couldn't get it off this by virtue of the fact that they tried to kill him. You wouldn't do that if the steal was in, and you wouldn't risk a civil war if you're like, don't worry, we got it taken care of. They clearly don't have it taken care of, which is why they went for Trump. They missed, which means that whoever's there is now as desperate as they were beforehand to be willing to take a shot at Trump, which is already X level of desperation. But now it's X times whatever because they still didn't get what they wanted. And now there are inquiries into what was that? Who pulled the strings behind that? The secret head of the Secret Service just stepped down today. Whoever's there is increasingly being backed into a corner. And again, you're not the mayor of Valdosta, Georgia. It's the president of the United States via tweet going, I'm not doing it anymore. Thanks. Who sent that?
Yeah,
Is it a coup? I mean, I don't think that's that absurd to if the people that are behind this are the ones that are behind trying to blow Trump's head off, they're clearly not averse to doing something highly illegal and I mean ballsy, right?
yeah. Look, Kamala's got to worry too, right? Because I mean, she's not the party's first pick. I mean, she's a great example of when a DEI hire goes wrong, it's like impossible to fire them, right? So, but who knows? I mean, Biden could be on life support. I mean, they came out with the COVID cover story, but no one's seen him in 5 days. The president, just disappears for 5 days, like no big deal, right? Drops out of the race. And then you had the Kamala press conference yesterday where it seemed as if she had the slip alluding to this being like
Recording.
some recording, right? And was it a recording? Was Biden like consenting to that? Was it an AI recording? I mean, we have no idea.
It is, yeah, it is wild. I mean, yeah, I mean, we're heading towards some sort of crisis if we're not already in the midst of one. I mean, these
We're
are,
in a crisis, man.
yeah,
Like they're trying to kill the president. The
that's
other,
yeah, yeah,
the other president is like disappearing. He's resigning on Twitter.
yeah.
Like we're in a crisis.
This is non-trivial. Like you tried to kill Trump. The president goes from I'm not stepping down, I'm never stepping down to not by video. He just sends a tweet and goes, I'm done, and I endorse Kamala. But you know that the powers that be don't like Kamala. They like Hillary and Newsom. So what is she doing? Is this her move? Yeah, it is kind of horrifying. I mean, who's holding the
Well,
nuclear football?
this is why that both of them should be afraid of their lives, right? Biden and Kamala, right? Because you got, I think it's like 9 states now where you're either past the deadline to change the ballot or they're at risk of not being able to change the ballot unless the candidate dies, right? So I mean, who knows? I mean, like Biden, they're shooting up with meds 24/7 and get him to be able to speak like quasi coherently. What if someone accidentally gives him the wrong dosage, right? Like, what if something, random happens to Kamala, right? I mean, like the powers that be, really throughout this Biden administration have made no qualms about the fact that they don't care if what they do is like obvious and beyond suspicion. Like they're going to do it anyway because I think they're reasonably concerned if Trump does get back into the presidency that he's just going to shut down these whole agencies.
And why wouldn't he? I mean, he
And then and then the other big issue too, beyond the 9 states with the ballots, is the money, right? You got hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in that Biden campaign fund that have to be spent by Biden or Kamala, right? So
so they can't change it, but and they want to change it, but they can't change it because those are the ones that have access to the war chest.
correct, right? So that's the other limiting factor that's securing Kamala's DEI presidential candidacy.
And it doesn't seem like it's really, and it's definitely not foreign when Elon comes out, endorses Trump, says I'm going to donate 45 million a month. Zuckerberg comes out, says, him dodging the bullet was the most badass thing I've ever seen. Meta removes all restrictions from Trump's Facebook and Instagram accounts. They're not floating like Larry Fink to be what, Treasury or Fed head, and Jamie Dimon, one of the others too. It kind of seems like the giant money and power is starting to get behind Trump, which makes it seem more and more like the actions of the current establishment, the current administration is going to get more and more radical and frenetic.
Yeah, well, look at this. Yesterday, they claimed that Kamala got 84 million in donations, and then DC Drano, put out this tweet showing that we have no idea where these donations are actually coming from, and use this one example of an unemployed guy living in like a shanty house in like New Orleans, I think it was, supposedly donating like $18,400 to Democrats in various increments from like $1 to $1,000, right? So like Drano has theorized that perhaps the Dems are quasi legally or illegally funneling donations from either foreign sources or major donors through these random names, much like how allegedly they've funneled votes through dead people or someone whose name is on a voter roll. And similarly, Drano theorized that we've all heard about this loophole that the Save Act was supposed to close about illegals receiving voter identification cards without proving that they're national citizen. He's like, look, once their name's on a voter roll, they don't even have to show up to vote and show ID, right? Someone could just harvest a mail-in ballot with their name on it. That's, vote for Biden or now vote for Kamala. So like the voter integrity issue is still a huge one in this election, right? I mean, I think people see with Trump having such a massive lead that people aren't going to believe it as easily as they did in 2020, where you had all those mail-in ballots and COVID and yada yada yada, right? But they have to forge a lot of ballots to overcome what's in the polls. But there could potentially be 8 million illegals who are on voter rolls right now.
Yeah, I don't it seems like by their actions that they're not entirely behind the idea of voter fraud because I don't think you wouldn't, and it's clearly the shot at Trump was clearly orchestrated by power and money. It wasn't just a random dude. There's so many things that imply stand down orders or intentional loops in security that says whoever did this has significant money and power. This wasn't just a dude climbing on a roof. It's not a school shooting where
No
you come in
way.
and start unloading.
Well, these investigators now have found that he supposedly had two devices, that,
Hmm.
one of his devices had all this overlap with like FBI offices and whatnot. I mean, it's like,
Has a bunch of encrypted bank accounts overseas. Like the day before, there's what 12 million shorts on Truth Social. Like, so my point is
well, the guy's in a BlackRock ad. He's got
yeah.
zero social media footprint. I mean,
So yeah, so
when
my
there's
point,
smoke, there's usually fire.
so this is my point is this clearly wasn't just a lone wolf. There was power behind it. The power behind it would theoretically be the same power that would do something like 2020. They've chosen not to do a 2020 election steal for whatever reason. They don't think it's going to work. They think there's too many eyeballs. They think the gap is too big, whatever. So they decided to move forward with something so much more over, blowing Trump's head off. But that didn't work. So that logic deduces that they're going to continue to do, they're cornered and there's nothing they won't do at this point, and including
Hmm.
some sort of silent coup. Like this is very odd that Biden just, I'm not doing it anymore, thanks, and Kamala comes out and takes it.
We don't know where he is. He could be in some deep state, prison. I mean, they could have, like overdrugged him into oblivion. I mean, there's, rumors out there that he's like, in hospice and stuff. I mean, that there's, rumors that there was a medical emergency on Air Force One. I mean, and we all know that the intelligence agencies have ways of faking suicides, like inducing heart attacks, stuff of that nature, right? So I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to try to take a shot at Trump again, but could they try to give him a heart attack and say, look, he's he's an old guy, he's in his 70s, like, oh, it's probably natural causes, it's stress, like, you know, car accident, helicopter accident. I mean, you don't know. I mean, like, he's in a lot of danger.
I think they kind of played their card on that though. You can't,
Yeah, but
like,
it's like who's going to stop them if they do it, right? I
that's
mean,
a
that
fair
that's the
point.
thing. I mean, like I was here with Trump Jr. About a month ago, right? And he's like, "Look, I want JD as the VP, because he's a fighter, right? So if they take my dad out, it's not going to be just some, Mike Pence 2.0 who's going to go along with the establishment." And this was before the shots were
Yeah.
fired, right? Trump Jr. was worried about this, right? So I mean, like, this is been on their radar. They know, and I mean, like, how morbid is that you got to think about, the government killing your own dad, who's running, for president, who likely had the last election illegally stolen from him, right? But, I think if there's one thing COVID taught us, it's the government doesn't like us. Okay. They want as much power over us as they could get. And, they want us, chronically sick and, slaves to big pharma so that those lobbyists are making money and that we're too feeble to do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if they want, yeah, who, what you said, who's going to stop them? If they really want to do it, they'll do it. Like, it's not like their only weapon they had at their disposal was some dude with a rifle, right? If you really wanted to, you'd put a missile into Mar-a-Lago. But there's a reason you don't, because it's obvious, it's domestic. You can't just have the Air Force bomb you. You'd set off civil war. So the only constraint is they're trying to save some sort of face. But if Trump is that much of a threat to them, if they're so far in now, if you did 2020, treason. You take a shot at Trump, treason. If they've removed Biden, treason. They are now so fucked. I mean, it's you're in the bank, you're in the bank, robbery, and the cops are outside. You're like, yeah, I'm going out shooting. We're spending the rest of our life in a 5 by 5 foot cell. That's dangerous, and they are at the point where it seems like they're gonna do anything. They tried to kill Trump. They might have killed Biden. It's a cornered animal right now that's like foaming at the mouth. Yeah, I don't. Who's gonna stop them? I guess the only. And then you have the military, and you have the military might be looking at this, and they have, you and I are speculating. If you actually have the military, which is, monitoring all these comms, who say you don't have some, general that's like, we're stepping in and doing XYZ under classified protocol ABC for if this happens. Like, I mean, like, it's a book Raven Rock by Garrett Graff, which is all about continuity of government, and it goes back to like Eisenhower, and like on top of the physical continuity of government, like bunkers and planes and everything, there's also tons of laws that when they would run these tests, one of the things they would do is they would just sign all these laws that they would keep on, something like the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act was on the shelf for years, if not over a decade before 9/11. 9/11 happened, and because like contingency plans, you don't want to be making it up during a crisis. Like, Bush flying all around during the 9/11 attacks, like that wasn't made up off the top of their head. He went to Offutt Air Force Base and he went to a bunker. Like you have these things planned so that in the middle of chaos and fog of war, you have sort of like a checklist to go by when you're not thinking clearly and nothing makes sense. There might be something like that to where, I don't know, a coup within, like they've absolutely thought of that at some point during the Cold War. Like there's a coup within the administration itself. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It does, I guess, in most concise terms, seems kind of fucked.
No, I mean it's really fucked. I mean, listen, the last time I was on your show was a couple months ago before any of this happened, right? I told you everything is on the table this year, right? We could see a fake alien invasion, we could see martial law, World War III. I mean, they will stop at nothing to keep Trump out of there,
Yeah.
right? And look at what we've seen thus far, and it's not over, right? I mean, we still have 104 days or whatever until the election. I mean, it's going to be some of the craziest 104 days of our lives.
I hope not. I mean, I hope it will be. It doesn't matter if I hope.
I
It
mean, it
doesn't.
will be. I mean,
It
look,
doesn't
look at the
matter.
last week. Look at all the shit that happened in like the last 10 days,
Uh,
right? I mean, it's beyond the pale, and it's somehow, believe it or not, going to get crazier. But but look at the microcosm, right? Like we originally said, we're going to talk about like NASCAR and how they created a libel list to defame
yeah.
us. Look at the lengths the administration and NASCAR have gone to screw conservatives over a meme coin that made fun of the administration.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had NASCAR, by their own admission, create a quote libel list to maliciously defame us to over 20 media outlets, right? To cause a $390 million drop in a meme coin in one day when 85% of their fans are conservative, right? This is all in writing. They literally, I mean, it's creative, right? You got good alliteration with the quote libel list, but like to be so arrogant and so malicious to go and create a list of media to say we're going to libel these guys too, right? They're going to say we made up this sponsorship, right? Okay, they're going to say that the coin is worthless. I mean, it goes on and on, right? I mean, so NASCAR now has put itself at a risk of $1.8 billion in damages, right? They cost 571 million in like 3 weeks. Okay. And that since there's actual malice involved in this, they're on the line for 1.8 billion, right? Now, on top of this, then we saw a sham House ethics probe of Congressman Madison Cawthorn, who bought the coin, his own money, paid market price for it, right? Got all this press ahead of his primary. Okay, that he supposedly helped orchestrate a pump and dump when all these people again were hurt by NASCAR making a libel list, right? Me, I've had 5 bank accounts and credit cards closed, right? JP Morgan, Northern Trust closed my bank accounts, closed my credit cards. Now I got to sue them to figure out why, right? We've had the House subcommittee on weaponization say that FinCEN has targeted conservatives, labeling us domestic terrorists, and conservatives should have their bank accounts closed. Is that why my accounts got closed? I don't know yet. I had to sue 2 major banks to find out. We got a court hearing into August. Okay. Who else was it? The FDIC, right? Supposedly, allegedly is conducting Operation Choke Point 2.0, where they encourage banks to consider cryptocurrency users as suspicious, close their bank accounts. Maybe my stuff got closed over that. I don't know yet. Then the SEC tried to subpoena me, Candace Owens, Madison Cawthorn, a bunch of other people, not NASCAR, right? NASCAR played ball with the administration, and they created this libel list, right? But put us through hundreds of thousands of dollars of document discovery, getting lawyers, getting smeared. Guess what? I sued the SEC. We're going to appellate court now, right? Like, they don't even claim the coins as security. They're going to come in here and subpoena us, get unreasonable search and seizure, unconstitutional discovery on people's personal financial institution or information, right? It's all over meme coin. Okay, like, this is like a joke, and guess what? It's Trump's first meme coin too, right? Trump has now come out, pro crypto. He realizes that 50 million Americans have suffered in crypto at the hands of the Biden administration, of Liz Warren's quote anti-crypto army that's being enforced by Gary Gensler, who admitted before Congress that the SEC doesn't have the authority to regulate cryptocurrency exchanges, but has gone out, sued every major cryptocurrency exchange anyway. And all of this is in violation of multiple Supreme Court cases. The most basic Constitution, facts that the administrative agencies need statutory authority to regulate something, right? But it's almost like the power of tax is the power to destroy. So is the power of regulation, right? And so luckily I'm an attorney. I can handle all these lawsuits at the same time. But it's the same type of lawfare the administration used against President Trump, which again gets back to the original thesis. If they're going to go through all of this, to harass me over a joke, okay, that someone made based on my Halloween costume, okay, let's go, Brandon. Okay, you don't think they're capable of taking a shot at Trump? Okay, you don't think that they're capable of running a coup against Biden, right? The government's got essentially infinite resources. If they don't like you, okay, they can make your life an absolute living hell. And and so Kamala's got to be careful, because like, they know that she can't win a fair election. So what are they going to do to try to get her out of there? Obama hasn't endorsed her yet, by the way.
Which is wild. Can you explain the libel list? The NASCAR
Yeah.
libel list?
Yeah, I mean, it's an absurd concept. You say a libel list, right? Like, what does that mean? So NASCAR's communications people created a list of reporters, media organizations, politically aligned media, to literally disseminate maliciously false information to, right? Like, so there's you go on the Instagram at Let's Go, right? There's screenshots of our court filings, okay, and one of them is this guy Dale Hall, the one who very clearly, unambiguously said the sponsors are approved with regard to Let's Go Brandon Coin, right? There's an email of him, apologizing, saying, he approved it too quickly. He trying to remember the phrase, jumped the gun in approving it, right? Well, NASCAR goes out to the media and then project that. They use that same phrase, jump the gun, but they say Brandon's team, quote, jump the gun in announcing the approval. It's like, no, guys, okay, like, and you see this all the time for the media, right? They'll it's called projection, okay? Like someone they like, is doing something bad, right? Like the Democrats act like fascists, they act like oligarchs. Well, Trump is destroying democracy,
Hmm.
right? Talk about destroying democracy is engaging in, charging your opposition candidate with, I think it's 97 felonies, right? Maliciously, changing laws retroactively, which by the way is unconstitutional. It's called an ex post facto
Hmm.
law. It's specifically, barred in the Constitution, right? Trying to seize all of his wealth over this ridiculous appraisal claim that
Hmm.
Mar-a-Lago is supposedly only worth $18 million. Right? But Trump is the danger to democracy. Trump's the authoritarian, right? You've got Gensler, who admits he has no statutory authority, but he's going to sue crypto, as part of an anti-crypto army. That's fascism. Fascism is the government picking winners and losers and trying to put out of business anybody who disagrees with them. Like coming at me, right? That's fascism. Okay, and look, I'm not just some random guy. I'm not some con artist. I'm not some crypto bro. Like I recovered $7 billion pro bono for 48,000 fraud victims, 6.7 in MF Global, 300 million in PFG for free. I was on the board and executive committee of the National Futures Association, the derivative self-regulatory organization. Did I use that to enrich myself? No. I'm a federal whistleblower against Tom Sexton, the current president of the NFA, who falsified board meeting minutes after their independent directors who set executive compensation were not nominated in accordance with the bylaws. Okay? So they hate me because I call them out for doing illegal stuff. And they do illegal stuff. Okay, and that's fascist.
Hmm.
Okay, so but yeah, so NASCAR projected this, onto us, onto Brandon's team. We made all this up when very clearly they approved the sponsorship in writing. The guy apologized for supposedly approving it too quickly, even though this has been a major talking point with NASCAR for 2 months, right? And the team, agreed not to use the phrase "Let's go, Brandon," but they said, LGB coin on the car was okay. NASCAR let me go in Brandon's pits with an LGB coin shirt, the same race that another driver was banned for saying, "Let's go, Brandon," to Benny Johnson, right? So, this was very thoughtfully, coordinated with NASCAR, approved by NASCAR in writing, right? And, NASCAR destroyed $571 million in value because, they were either embarrassed by the phrase or Comcast and NBC may have told them, or maybe the administration told them. We don't know who told them to do this, but we do know they created what they call the libel list of media to maliciously smear us to. And there's over 20 incidences of stuff that was published by these publications that NASCAR communicated to.
So then how did you get access to it? Or is it just stupidity that they actually put it in the writing?
Yeah, it's really stupid. And so, like, NASCAR's president, Steve Phelps, was like the only guy who didn't put anything in writing. But NASCAR staff is so stupid and so arrogant that someone would call Phelps. They're like, just got off the phone with Phelps. Phelps said this. And these guys put it in emails, which is great. It's great for us. It's great for victims of NASCAR. It's great for these people who lost $571 million, right? But like, oh my God, could you be dumber or more arrogant to put it all in writing? But thank you for putting all this in writing because it's been a couple years of people suffering financially from this, having reputational damage for this. Like you Google me and like pump and dump, and there's like thousands of things like we're going to pump and dump. We were maliciously liable.
So then what is the realistic outcome of this? If I know you're suing the banks for you said that's in August, but I think that's for your bank accounts, not for LGB. What is then the outcome of this? Is it just do they get a slap on the wrist? Do you
Oh
somehow
no,
regain the valuation, or is it just outright sue them into oblivion?
yeah, I mean, we're suing them for monetary damages. There's three different counts. So there's one that's promissory estoppel, which means a reasonable reliance on their in writing approval. There's a breach of contract claim since we were a third party beneficiary. But the biggest one is defamation, right? And they've admitted it. They've admitted it in writing that they created a libel list. They've admitted in writing that they sent all these false statements, to the media, right? So they're liable for the full 571 million in damages, but because there was actual malice, we will be moving to add punitive damages, which makes us eligible for triple those damages. So it's up to 1.8 billion in damages, right? And we fully intend to make everybody as whole as we can on this, right? So that means anyone who held LGB coin on that date of revocation, which is January 5th, 2022, they'll just get an airdrop of cash that we recover net of fees and expenses. And that includes the Let's Go Brandon Foundation, right, which owned a big chunk, of the coins, and that will go to buy back the coin on the market. So anybody who goes, and buys Let's Go on Ethereum, or owns it now, assuming we prevail against NASCAR and everything's final, we collect, the foundation will do a buyback, and hopefully, everybody who is, remain loyal to the project, remain loyal to our goals of advocating for free speech, against social media deplatforming, and all the evil fascist stuff that the Biden administration has done. Hopefully they're all made whole and get a nice chunk of these NASCAR proceeds, again, assuming we prevail and collect.
How do you continually fight back against this stuff? You seem to kind of do it. Well, I don't know, maybe you just put on a good face, but you seem to fight back just kind of nonchalantly, like the biggest, most powerful groups in the world. You just kind of like fuck them.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the attitude of anybody who's successful, right? Like
Yeah.
I read something, I think it was about Elon, a couple weeks ago, and it's basically people who quote like "don't give a fuck" wind up being the most successful because it's like, what are they going to throw at me? Like, I mean, are they going to take a shot at me like Trump? Maybe. I mean, it's a low, probably a low probability, but you know what? I got the ability. I already took on the trustee from Lehman Brothers, Obama's attorneys general, Obama's biggest donor, who was an ex-governor, senator, and CEO of Goldman Sachs, Clinton's FBI director, as a 30-year-old kid who never took a class in bankruptcy with my 23-year-old little sister with an advertising degree being a paralegal. We recovered $6.7 billion and we did it for free. So, do you think I'm going to lose to NASCAR, who is dumb enough to say, hey, we made a libel list of media to smear you to in writing? I mean, if I lose that, I deserve to lose my law license, right? And all these people, who bought the coin, a lot of them they did as a joke, but a lot of them did it, to support what we're doing, right? And it's the coin was started when COVID lockdowns were still a thing.
Hmm.
When if you didn't get a COVID jab, an experimental mRNA vaccine, you could lose your job, right? So look, it all started as a joke. It went viral. We were blessed with that success. And, as soon as that happened, we're like, okay, well, we got to do good with this. And, we've given organizations like Turning Point to conservative think tanks to veterans with disability, and all those organizations lost money, for that too. So, to go out and say, look, I'm glad this went viral, but we're going to use this, to advocate, and then to give up, when the administration and their woke cohorts, screw all that people, like that's not how I was raised,
No.
so we're going to keep going. We're going to win on all fronts, right? And including, just yesterday, this guy admitted in writing that was all NASCAR's fault, yet somehow, and said something to the effect that I'm like a national hero bringing the conservative movement into the 21st century. Guy's got a frivolous class action against me, okay, despite all those, in writing, admissions. Guess what? I'm not stopping until we get sanctions against him and, his lawyers. They've made multiple violations of federal law in the way that they've sued me. There's an act out there called the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act. They've had multiple violations of that. They violated the Class Action Fairness Act. And guess what? Throw all your lawyers at me that you want. I'm going to make sure those guys get sanctioned. Okay. So, anybody else, bring it on.
I guess that is the only kind of way to go about it is fuck them. I mean, I guess the silver lining is it does seem like they're desperate, and that's both that I mean that's crisis. That's a crisis-inducing thing, but it is also a silver lining. Like they wouldn't do this if they're firmly in charge. I mean, everything they're doing, they wouldn't do this if they're firmly in charge, which again is hyper dangerous, but it's better than them. I don't know. Things seem more optimistic now than they did in like summer 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by a long shot.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm
But
kind of
but the thing is, we can't give up.
no.
Okay, we got to keep fighting. Okay, it's it's like NFL Leon Lett, right? Had a fumble recovery and he starts celebrating before he gets to the goal line, and I think it was Don Beebe like knocked the ball out of his hands. Okay, like we don't know how much they're going to cheat in this election. We don't know how they're going to try to do mail-in ballots, martial law, fake alien invasion, take another try to blow up Trump's car or his helicopter or whatever, right? So all of us, we got to watch Trump's back. Okay, those like me, who have law degrees, who know the law, need to sue every branch of the administration who's violating the law and stop it. We can't shut up about investigations into this assassination attempt because it sure is sus AF, right? And look, there's a lot of battles to fight. They're really great at getting, the media focus on the next shiny thing, right? Like Trump had all this, momentum, from the convention. You got Hulk Hogan talking about Trumpomania,
Yeah.
open up his shirt. And then all of a sudden now there's a potential coup against Biden and Kamala's running and she has all these, supposedly 84 million in donations. Like, give me a break, right? So, we got to make sure we don't get distracted and each of us fight back any way and every way that we can.
It's yeah. No, it's absolutely terrifying. But it is, yeah. No, they want you to feel powerless. They want you to think that no one can do anything. They want you to think that only Trump can do anything. Right? They don't want the average person pushing back, and that is what you're doing. But I don't know, man. This shit's giving me a heart
I think
attack.
I'm a little bit above average, but just a tad. But yeah,
Yeah.
look, everyone could do their own part, and the key is doing your own part to the best of your ability. And there's a big amount of cowardliness in the white collar population, right? You look at blue collar, how many people like sign up, for the military? You look at heroes like Pat Tillman who like quit the NFL, to go fight in Afghanistan only to get killed by friendly fire, right? But you know, so many blue collar guys that go, they're cops, they're firemen, they put their lives on the line, every day to try to help people. But like how many white collar people, right? They don't even, they're not even asked to put their life on the line, but they're worried about their job or like
Yeah.
reputational risk or all these like pathetic excuses, to not take a stand. And you ask me why I'm not afraid. It's because I've done it. I've done it time and time again, and I always win. And that's why my friends call me the DJ Call of the Law. Okay, and until I lose something, I'm going to take that nickname. And look, NASCAR's on notice. Gary Gensler, I beat you before. You're on notice. Okay, and anyone else who wants to come at me, they're going to pay the price for that.
It,
And more professionals, more people, with that legal ability, that financial ability, like they need that same attitude. And honestly, it's pathetic that they don't have it. Like that they hide in a corner over like so many like trivial threats. When you look at someone like Trump, who's literally getting shot at, okay, for staying up for the country, like and that's what the country was founded on, right? It's guys who literally went to war over like tea taxes and
yeah.
representation. So I think everyone needs to like check themselves and you know have some balls.
Yeah. DJ Khaled of Law. I love that.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I say we wrap this one up. Um, yeah, I hadn't thought about it being a coup against Biden. I guess I just figured he'd step down. And the more I'm thinking about that, it's definitely making me a bit uneasy. So I don't really know where to go with that. But
I mean, we just don't know, and we deserve to know, and we deserve to know who's running the country.
yeah, yeah, I don't. Again, the only silver lining I can find at any of this is they wouldn't be doing this shit if they were firmly in control. This is not the act of a confident regime, right?
No, absolutely not. Well, we know they're not confident, right? Or sorry, you said confident. Yeah.
Confident, not
I mean,
competent,
they're
confident.
no look, they're panicking. I mean, I think Trump learned a lot from last time where, he didn't have Hillary prosecuted, even though she very obviously and blatantly, violated the law with her, her private server. He had a lot of swamp creatures in his administration. I think this time, especially after they literally shot him in the head,
Yeah.
assuming he gets back in safely, he's going to take no prisoners.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the other thing is he does have like the mandate now to go absolutely scorched earth, right? 2016, there was still a lot of opposition to that. I don't think anyone has any opposition to him going in and truly destroying these agencies. So either we are on
Yeah,
the cut.
oh, sorry.
No, 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 go for it.
I was just gonna say, look at like Javier Milei down in Argentina. He's just like slashing an agency
Yeah,
here, slashing an agency there, and I think we need the same thing here. I mean, a good chunk of it, like look at Elon Musk, right? He buys Twitter, fires 90% of the staff, and
works
works
fine.
just as
Yeah,
good normally. And the government, I think, would probably get an upgrade if you took out 90% of the staff.
yeah. No, we are. I think the timelines have like officially like diverged. I think had they killed Trump, we'd be going down an incredibly dark path right now. But it feels like they split off. Like we took a fork in the road, and it's still scary, but it seems like the wheels of the current entrenched power structure are falling off at an ever increasing rate. I mean, again, just the last 10 days have been insane. So that's I don't know. I'm trying to stay optimistic, trying to pray and find the good in it, or enact the good, not find it, but do the good.
Well, listen, good always wins in the end, but we can't be complacent, and so anyone who could fight, let's fight.
Yeah, yeah, and just be the DJ Khaled of law.
Ooh.
All right, dude. Well, yeah,
On
guys.
that note, I will talk to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time as always. Thank you for your help. Guys, please go in the description. Please go follow his Instagram, Twitter, and I believe your website's in there or something's in there. I'm not sure what. James, always a pleasure having you on here. Thank you so much, man. All right, buddy. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God